Hello, I'm Minus Thinking, and I hope you may like and subscribe. Originally, I was planning on doing a franchise-wide review on the Dead Rising series, but after I uploaded my most recent video, I had received the news that unfortunately Oliver Tree had passed away in a helicopter crash in Brazil as he was doing a show over there. I admittedly didn't really like most of his music. There were music that I liked, don't get me wrong. I loved his first album, Ugly is Beautiful. But after his first album, I just never really was interested in his music enough to listen to the rest. But I figured I'd change that and respect for him. Oliver Tree Nicole, professionally known as Oliver Tree, was an American songwriter, rapper, record producer, and was most well known for his blend of pop, electronic, alternate rock, and hip hop influences in his music. His most well-known album, Ugly is Beautiful, is, I would say, one of his best albums and has a lot of great songs and shot him to popularity quite early in his career. But don't get me wrong, he still produces good music after his first album, and admittedly, I just didn't like his album Cowboys Don't Cry, besides his one song, ironically called Cowboys Don't Cry. And I wasn't too interested in his Cowboys Don't Cry album, besides that one song. And even now, then I would get some songs that he made every now and then that I'd actually like. For example, he had done a song for the movie Ultraman Rising featuring Diplo. I hope I said that right. That I actually liked, and another song called When I'm Down featuring Within and Honey. I think that's how you pronounce it. And from what I've seen so far, currently, when I'm writing this part of the script, I haven't listened to most of those albums, but the next part of this script will be me reviewing each album and my thoughts on them in the future when I've listened to all of them. So now this is me after listening to all his albums. But for right now, my general liking to his whole discography as a whole is a 7 out of 2 due to how personally for me his music wasn't something that I personally liked in a music artist, but I wouldn't say he's bad because he still has some pretty good songs that I like. Don't get me wrong, but personally, he's just not for me. Also, this is a little bit off script, but if I come off as just like rude or offensive or anything like that, this is not intentional. I'm just giving my thoughts, and I do not want to come off as someone just being disrespectful in any way, shape, or form. So I hope that should clear up any confusion. For his singles, my personal standouts are Mr. Regular featuring Killer Mike and What's So Not. Free Fall, not sure if this counts as a single, but Oliver Tree is pretty prevalent in the song, so I'll consider it a single. And was this song was made by Waithrin, I believe that's how you pronounce it. And When I'm Down, pretty good song and an interesting album cover for the song. These are singles that I personally liked from Oliver Tree and thought that these were some of his standouts amongst his singles. As for his first album, Ugly is Beautiful is easily my favorite album from his whole discography, and also his first album. I would say it's easily his best due to how great every single song on the album is, and divide the whole album has with every being, and it's hard to tell which one I personally like. It's hard for me to rank them is what I'm trying to say due to how great the albums are in my opinion. The album is in my opinion. But in this instance, I thought they were pretty entertaining. The music videos I don't normally care on most of the time when I'm watching music, admittedly. But for Oliver Tree, it was pretty interesting and funny to see the music videos for each of these videos. And plus, they were pretty funny and interesting at times, like I said. But to rate this album out of 10, I would say it's an 8 or 9. I like this album, but compared to other stuff I've listened to, like Mac Miller, Kanye West, Tyler the Creator, and all that, like The Who's and all that, I personally, not The Who's, I mean The Smiths, I believe. But yeah, personally, out of all the stuff I've heard, I feel like it's an easily 9, I would say, on a good day. Doesn't quite compare to other stuff I've listened to personally, with all the respect, but still a pretty good album, honestly. And my standout favorite songs in the album are pretty hard to put in a list due to how good they are. but if I had to decide, it would be Let Me Down due to like it's pretty like great due to like it being a pretty good song again and again, pretty upbeat and all that, I would say. And the third one was pretty hard to decide, but it's either gonna be I'm Gone or Introspective. Honestly, those two songs are pretty good, and depending on when you ask me, they could really swap places with each other. All the songs on this album were very pretty good, and it's hard for me to decide, but here's a list for this album that I personally picked out. And I believe that a lot of people can agree. Well, I guess not. Personally, a lot of people would put "Life Goes On" and on and on like on the list. But personally, I like the song, but I wouldn't say it was like my favorite on the albums. If that makes sense. Cowboy Tears is his second albums he made. This I would say was a shift in quality. Not like I don't mean like his side. I meant like on my side. Like I've there was a shift on my interest in his discography from here because like it wasn't necessarily bad. It was more like a direction that I personally didn't like in his album. It's not bad, just to clarify. I just personally didn't like it. Cowboys Tears is good. Don't get me wrong. It's just something like I said. I personally don't like. Personally, I don't like as an album, No disrespect and all. But here are my standouts from the album: Freaks and Geeks, Cowboy Tears, and California, which is unfortunate considering recent events. But it's a pretty good album, and I would say it's a 7 out of 10. Not my personal likings, but not a bad album, that's for sure. And honestly, I would say on a good day, it's even a 8 out of 10 personally. Now, his third album, personally, not my like I would say my least favorite album out of all due respect. Alone in the Crowd. I would say it's pretty good, but personally not for me, honestly. That would be how I personally feel about the rest of his albums, I would say, from like his next album is better. I would say that like his next album is better than this one personally. This album personally didn't do anything for me. And like once again, no disrespect. I feel as if I have to clarify, but I don't have any malice or anything towards him, so I don't mean to be disrespectful. Just simply my opinion. But I personally thought that that this was his weakest out of all his albums that I've listened to, and there were still some like good songs, but I couldn't find as much good songs that stood out to me that personally that I liked as much as I liked the other songs in the albums for the other albums and all that. But here are the standout songs that I decided were Bounce and Essence. Both pretty good songs in their own right, and I would say not really like don't get me wrong, they get those are like Bounce and Essence I would say are pretty good as like if it were on Cowboy Tears they would be pretty good and I would see them like fit in terms of quality and like how much I like them. But I would say the rest of the other albums personally weren't like didn't do anything to me personally. Now here's his most recent and unfortunately his final album, Love You Madly, Hate You Badly. This is his most recent album, and unfortunately it's going to be his last due to him passing. And I would say that this one is better Alone in a Crowd, I would say, because it certainly sounds more better, honestly. I would say he improved a lot from his last album. No disrespect to his like last album or anything like that. Just but here are some of my standouts from the album: Glow On, Superhero, and Hey Shawty. Oliver Tree was a great artist, no doubt about that. And I would say, well, he's not my personal favorite. He is talented overall because he was both funny and musically good too, and was honestly a pretty good multi-talented person and unique personality. And it sucks that he managed to die at such a young age, but like he said in interviews, he could die any day and every album is pretty much like his last. And now that he's passed, the best we can do is celebrate his legacy and move on, being grateful that it stopped, but instead not being sad that it stopped, but being happy that it happened in the first place. Because Oliver Tree once said, "Life goes on and on and on," and that's how we should be with our lives. Moving on with our lives, celebrating the legacy that he left us, and being happy that he gave us this music that we can all enjoy together as a species. And now we can enjoy his music and end this hard time and help memorialize him as a great and funny artist that will be missed. Oliver Tree was definitely a standout. He was a funny guy, did some great stuff, and was pretty funny. Admittedly, I saw like a few of his stuff. His music videos are entertaining. He put a lot of quality in them. And honestly, I would say he was just personally pretty good as an artist overall. Now, hello everyone. I'd like to apologize if I sounded too gloomy, like I wasn't, like I didn't find any satisfaction talking about this topic. I just wanted to keep a serious tone to like out of respect for him and all that. And it probably wasn't exactly the best. I kind of struggle like speaking like loud and seriously normally, but like trying to be respectful too at the same time. I kind of like low when with I speak with like low decibels if you get what I'm saying, but that's just no disrespect towards him. I like his music. I just don't think I conveyed it as well as I should have, admittedly.